Hello everyone. If you've watched my recent videos, you'll know I've been in a little bit of a hole with my plant care recently. I've been dealing with pests and have generally just not felt very motivated right as the weather's ramped up and my plants have needed more care than ever, meaning a lot of them have gone downhill. I'm also just still clinging on to plants I actually don't care that much about. So today is the day all of that changes. What you're about to see is a full-on day of non-stop plant care, resetting my collection, having a rearrange, pest treating, doing some brutal chop backs, and getting things back to a manageable state. But first, hi if you're new here, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learnt over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And if you're also feeling the funk right now, take this as your sign and let's battle through the chaos together. Buckle up, this is going to be intense, but I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So I started things off with a powerhouse of a smoothie, which somehow made me feel a tad more motivated. I did this all on the hottest day of the year so far, so I had no choice but to whip out my pasty legs. However, what I didn't mean to display quite so proudly was the epic wedgie I appear to be rocking for the entirety of this video, along with somewhat transparent shorts. Sorry about that. Something I've been meaning to do since I moved in here, which was 6 months ago now, is get my big euphorbias outside, not only for a proper soak through, but also for a wash down. They've gathered so much dust and are really difficult to clean because of how spiky they are, so I thought I'd take advantage of the nice weather and give them a hose off in the garden. As I was carrying those hefty boys through, I managed to knock a leaf off my Begonia goegoensis, so decided to try propagating it in sphagnum moss. I'm yet to have success propagating Rex begonia by leaf cuttings, but I've seen this method work well for other people, so fingers crossed it does root like this. I thought the best thing to do with this space was to essentially clear as many plants as I could out of it so that I could give it a good scrub down and assess the damage. Initially, I decided to clear everything into sections so I could process things bit by bit. I came across even more sad plants that I wasn't even aware of as I did. I'm still trying to get better at letting go of the plants that aren't truly making me happy anymore. Oh, I can be such a hoarder, honestly. So I tried to take this opportunity to really hone in on the ones that I wanted to keep and the ones that I need to find new homes for. Once I'd cleared the first section, I went in with a dustpan and brush and swept away all the dead leaves, flowers and soil that had built up on the shelves. I mentioned recently as well that I was really sad about how scratched these shelves have got, and some of you have given me some fantastic ideas to protect them from getting any worse, including plastic sheeting, trays, glass covers and specific paint types. So thank you so much for that. Then of course I took a sponge and some dish soap and gave everything a really good scrub. And although I'd now filled up most of the downstairs of my house with plants, I thought I'd pop this bunch outside so that I could give the other side of the room a deep clean too. Having done the first side and seeing just how much fresher and better it looked, it really motivated me to keep going. I often find it's just the getting started with things that's the hardest part, and once you're actually in them and doing them, you're kind of on a roll, you know? I know lots of you have said over the years that you use my videos to kind of body double and help you get started with things, and that is totally the case for me as well. Honestly, filming these videos really helps me to stay on track and focus on the task at hand. It's easier sometimes feeling like you're not doing things alone, isn't it? This is the point at which I started to think about having a bit of a rearrange. I often find having a physical change up can help things to feel fresh and exciting again in my plant collection, and there's a few things, such as these big plants, that I'm just not happy with at the moment. My Monstera, for example, is chasing the light in weird directions, meaning its growth looks very sparse. It was also very dusty and needed a good wash down. Moving big plants in a small space can be a challenge though. You obviously need to consider their needs, but also try to find a way so that the space doesn't then feel cluttered. Also, this might be a really boring thing to say, but one of the best investments I ever made as a planty person was a cordless hoover. I just think if you're the type of person that's not always motivated to clean, it just makes life a million times easier. The hoover did, however, fall over and land on my alocasia portadora, snapping its largest leaf. Oops. Going back to rearranging my space, I wondered if perhaps I could move these shelves slightly and optimise the space in the middle of them that is currently not being used. Realistically, there's nowhere else the shelves themselves could really go, but I thought this might just give me a bit more space to play with. At first I wondered if I might be able to make my big Monstera work in that gap. Bearing in mind it would be facing a direct light source, its leaves would likely straighten up over the next few months. I tried it in a couple of different positions, but neither of them were quite right. I also had a spare glass shelf that I took out of the taller unit, and I wondered if I might be able to create a longer shelf for smaller plants by placing it on top. Throughout the day I was continuously bringing plants outside for a rinse down, even if it wasn't pest related, just to give them a good soaking and get rid of any dust build up. It really makes a difference and makes them look so much healthier too. This is the coffee table from my old flat that I've popped into this space. I like the fact that it's glass, so light can pass through it, meaning that in theory I can grow plants underneath it as well, but in reality I haven't really been optimising this and it's not in the highest light spot. I thought that by moving it from the middle of the room it might just help to free up the space a bit, and then by putting it by the window would mean I could grow more effectively underneath it there. Now that my big Monstera wasn't shoved in that space too, I decided to actually put my RHS Gold medal up on the wall. It's something I feel so proud of and feels lovely to finally have it on display in my JungleHaven space. Okay, but now back to where the heck do the big plants go? I had another idea for the Monstera, but needed to clear some space in this corner, which meant moving some of my hanging plants to new positions. I also had a new idea for my big bird of paradise, but it did mean scrapping the glass shelf idea, but I thought it might work well. I actually really liked this spot for this plant and thought it just freed up so much space in here. The only thing is, my bird of paradise was one of the plants I saw thrips on recently. Only a couple, but I thought it was best to give it another pest treatment before putting it in such close proximity to the shelves. I use horticultural soap to give it a wipe down with an old makeup brush. The makeup brush just allows you to get into all the cracks and crevices of the plant, meaning that you can target things more effectively than if you were to just wipe it with a cloth. I haven't seen any pests on this plant in a few weeks, but you can never be too safe. I've also got some more drastic pest treating measures lined up to add in place later. The sunglasses weren't even ironic at this point. I was genuinely just being blinded by the sun. I stopped to check the thermostat at one point and it was just under 40 degrees Celsius, which is crazy. That's 104 Fahrenheit. I began moving a few plants back into the space just to get a sense of the shape of it. I know it looks much busier on this side now as I've grouped a lot of big plants, but it feels amazingly jungly, which I really love. I also had to do a bit of rewiring here and there so that I wasn't looking at cables. I really hate the look of wires, and I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but I try to position things in a way that hides them well so they're not too much of an eyesore. You might have noticed as well that although I didn't use the glass shelf in the way I thought I would, for now it's sat on top here acting as a protector so it doesn't get any more scratched. I'll get around to repainting it at some point again soon, and then it can be looking lovely. And I know I'm moving in a funny, slightly disjointed order here, but back to the Monstera, this is the spot I was thinking. So, moment of truth. It's obviously a crazy big plant wherever it goes, but I thought I could tie some of its growth using garden velcro for the time being to help keep it a bit more contained whilst it naturally straightens up and starts to face the light. I've been umming and ahhing about these lower leaves for a while now too. They're just so old and raggedy, and now they also jut out into the room. So I decided to bite the bullet and get rid of them. The rest of the plant is so healthy, this won't be too much of a loss to it, I hope. Now that I had that back wall free to play with, I was excited because I could finally display some of my taller and moss pole plants and be able to appreciate them more from a distance. There's a few of my favourites actually that you can only ever see if you walk right into this space and look for them, and I feel like this spot will just showcase them beautifully. As I started putting things slowly back into the room, I made sure to give every single plant a really good check over, and this took some time. I watered everything that needed watering and wiped down any plants that needed it too. I was really strict and only let myself bring the plants back into this space that I actually genuinely loved, meaning that if I was unsure, it didn't get a place in this space. It's a good way of doing things actually. I almost imagined that I was building my collection up again from scratch and started with my top picks. It allowed me to cull quite a few that I was on the fence about. Also, off topic, but this is the first time I've made a video like this where I potter about as I would off camera and actually not chat things through with you as I go. How do you feel about it? Do you like this style of video? Do let me know in the comments because I've actually had quite a lot of fun doing things this way. Because I haven't been very on it recently, there are a few things I just hadn't noticed with my plants, such as my Anthurium Delta Force about to give me a new leaf, yay! Also, I'm kind of loving this random fern that's just popped up in the moss with it. I actually gave most things in here a wipe over last week, so this was more of a precautionary wipe for the plants that I'd actually seen pests on or knew had been very close to a plant with pests. The good thing about the method of pest control I'm going to be using shortly though is that it actually needs some pests present in order to work effectively, so if a few slip through the net here and there, it's actually not a bad thing. As I saw my plant room starting to come together in a new way, I started to feel really excited by things I hadn't done in a while. I've said it before, but I think it's totally normal to have waves of not loving a hobby so much and feeling like your passion for it isn't there. It's always come in waves for me, to be honest, but such a simple thing like this really does make such a difference. Even as I'm sat now editing this video, I'm looking into my planty space and feeling super excited to get back in there again, which is something I've just not been feeling recently. Any leaves that were particularly battered or had been badly impacted by pests, I chopped back. Some of this was primarily aesthetic, but so long as I was sure the plant would continue to grow well, it just helped to reset things for me a bit and made me feel better about things. I also noticed that a lot of propagations, including these corms I'd shoved in a corner, were starting to grow. Now that I've got that area under the table right next to the window, I decided I'd be brutal and make some more chops and call that area my propagation zone. All of these plants are ones that were in my cabinet before I cleaned it out. I'd spotted root mealybugs on several plants in there, and although yes, I could have done a big treatment and tried to rehab these ones, I thought the simplest answer was to start them again from scratch. So I got very scissor happy. I decided to prop them all in water, not for any particular reason aside from the fact I know they can all prop that way, and I thought right now that would be a nice easy thing for me to monitor. Also, giving them a good chop back and reroot will actually allow them to grow back fuller in the long run, so it's not all bad. This now empty jar recently housed the most delicious pistachio spread. Honestly, you guys, it was actually the yummiest thing ever. I ate it by the spoonful. I'm not using any special kind of water here, just tap. I just decanted it into this jug to save going back and forth from the kitchen. The next two plants I chop up here are both Hoyas and are both mystery plants. I did at one stage know the name of both of them, but I've lost the ability to remember now, so if any of you know, please let me know, as I'd love to find out more about them. I should add as well that all of these plants have been in isolation for the last month or so since I took them out of my cabinet. They've had a good soak through with a diluted hydrogen peroxide mix, and I've given them several wipe downs with horticultural soap, so I'm not too worried about leaving them in this space to root. But there we go, check out my new little propagation area. They'll get such great light there, so hopefully I'll have new plants in no time. I know I've spoken many times over the years about getting rid of this one, my Alocasia Green Shield, but for the first time in ages it's actually got multiple leaves, so despite my future self likely rolling her eyes, I'm sticking with it for the time being. It's also currently flowering, and usually if I don't plan on pollinating I'll actually chop the flowers back, but I'm reluctant to mess with the flow with this one, seeing as it's been such a nightmare for me, so for now I decided to leave it be. Something else I've been talking about doing for so long is potting all of the sections of my Drimonia tree begana up together. This is a plant I love so much and have experimented with growing in different ways over the years, but honestly the only way I've found to truly keep this plant happy is by growing it in sphagnum moss. I took them all out of their containers and transferred them into one pot. The pot I had was actually a hanging pot, and seeing as they're all kind of trailing now, I thought it could look quite pretty growing them this way. As I had a tidy up and went to bring some of the final plants inside, I noticed that actually a couple had scorched, including this Hoya, which is a semi-succulent. I know I bang on a lot about acclimation, guys, but this just goes to show how even just a day can make a difference if you don't do things properly. Hoyas can be acclimated to grow in full sun, however, because it hadn't been used to it and today was such a hot day, it just couldn't cope. These are a few of the plants I decided I'm either going to get rid of completely or chop up and start again with. One of the plants I decided not to put back in this space is this sad one here, my Begonia Sinbad. I know, it was the apple of my eye for so long, but I'm just at my wit's end with it now. I've taken some cuttings to start it again from scratch, but I'm afraid this section is headed for the compost heap. And why do you have cupcake cases, Claire? I hear you cry. Well, I've been meaning to get some biological pest control going in this space for a while, so I thought I'd quite literally release thousands of bugs and use cupcake cases to spread them. Woohoo! Firstly, I got some Oblicius cucumaris, which are the slow release sachets that target young thrips. These ones are so small you literally can't see them. See? Nothing. But then I also ordered some serious beasts, and I've never used these ones before, but these are Aureus larvigatus, which target the black adult thrips, and these ones you can see. They're slightly bigger than the thrips themselves, and they kind of look like teeny tiny beetles. The reason I said earlier in this video about needing some pests actually present in the space is that if you don't, the predators will have nothing to feed off and will immediately start to die out. So actually introducing them at a time where you've got an active infestation is a good thing in the long run. I've used natural predators in my collection for years now, but I've got away with minimal pest issues since living here up until this point. Although nobody enjoys the thought of releasing insects into their home, genuinely it's not as scary as it seems. I filmed this video 3 days ago now and I haven't seen any of them since. Plus, once they've eradicated the pests, they'll naturally die back anyway. Thrips can be an absolute nightmare to tackle, particularly at this time of year, but I want to keep things as natural as I possibly can. Personally, I only like to use harsh chemical pesticides in an absolute emergency. Yoli decided to join in and try and help at one point as well. I've made more in-depth videos about biological pest control on my channel before, so I'll link some of those in the description box below if you're interested. Bringing my big euphorbias back into the house was a bit of a mission. They were heavy to begin with, but after such a big drink, I almost didn't think I'd do it. But there you go, gang, a full day of plant resetting, and my god do I feel better for it. This is what my planty space is looking like now, and it feels absolutely amazing. As you can see, there's also a fair amount of space on my shelves as I've been so brutal with what I actually want and don't want, and I'm really in no rush to fill those gaps. As I get back into the flow of things, I just want to make sure I'm staying on top of what I've got and don't rush into buying more plants if I don't actually feel I need them. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you were doing plant chores along with me, I hope you got lots done as well. Drop me a comment and let me know what you thought of this style of video, because as I say, it is a new one for me. But if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.